Just saying it's 4:01.
As I said, perfectly on time. I thought so.
Yeah.
My-
You
Well,
get a minute of leeway.
we were all just in the green room though before I let you in, just giving you grief before we went live. That it's like Tom has to be here today.
It's November 6th, and tomorrow is November 7th.
Tomorrow's
And we
November
said
7th.
if you're not here that we would pitch your books, because we can all do that for each other now.
Exactly, it's true.
Julia and Shannon
Please
were
spend
ready to
enough time
step up
together.
to the plate for you.
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, I'm gonna go now. Thank you. Well, thank you, my friends.
I love it.
Of course.
Okay, so I know that this isn't. Oh, wait a minute. It's your book, Shannon. Glutton.
Oh yes.
Oh, I read that. I read the review in the New York Times yesterday too.
And you guys have
We have a virtual event with her on Saturday. It's everywhere. I'm seeing it everywhere.
That's so exciting. I feel like it was a little bit of a sleeper, but I'm so glad that it's getting so much love.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to put it as my book pick for the week. But I have to really, really put it with a footnote.
Asterisk.
An asterisk, just sort of like, because it's dark.
Yeah.
And it's gross. But it's so good. But she admits all that. I mean, she's just like, this is what it is. And it's based on a real guy from like 1780s, 90s, something like that.
Yeah.
Union Tribune did almost a whole more than a half page on her, on the event, on the book, on everything.
So great.
So yeah, but I have to put in my book pick that it's, if you liked Perfume, and if I've recommended Perfume to you and you've read it and you've liked it, then go with me with this one. If you were reading some of my lighter recommendations, like Bad Summer People, this might not be.
It's good.
Go in.
Yeah. It has a specific audience, but
it definitely has a specific audience, but it's so well written, so good. But you definitely,
and such a good package, I think, on that,
because she goes there. And she goes there. She goes there. All right. Good book. So November 7th, tomorrow.
Big day.
Good stuff happening. So it's going to go Shannon, Julia, Tom. So Shannon, take it
away. Okay. I'm going to see if I can share. Oh, of course, what I want up is not, I wasn't unprepared, you guys.
That's all right.
Never mind. Okay.
Are you sure?
Sounds like me.
No, just go.
I thought I was all ready, and then it was like, oh, there's 20 things open on your desktop. So I'm going to talk about Let Us Descend by Jesmyn Ward, because I haven't been on Tea Time, and it's been a hot minute. I'm sorry. Apologies,
that's okay.
friends.
We missed you.
But Julia and Tom have heard me talk about this book, but it's Jesmyn Ward. It came out 2 weeks ago, I think. The number one indie next pick for the month of November, and it is spectacular. I feel like it is a literary event. It's Jesmyn's already won 2 National Book Awards. But if you haven't read her, this is the time. Oh, you're going to do it for me, Julie?
I just did it for you.
You're amazing. Look at that gorgeous cover. It's the Oprah Book Club pick. It's getting spectacular reviews. It's the story of Annis, an enslaved teenager, and she's sold by the man who fathered her. And it's about her walk from the Carolinas to New Orleans to the slave market. And it's beautiful, it's hard, it's haunting, it's so powerful. I feel like it's just one of those books that is going to be in our literary canon for a really long time. People compare her to Toni Morrison. There's a hint of magical realism in it, and I think it's just one of the best things that I've read all year. It couldn't be. Her prose is so beautiful and haunting. I think, did you read it, Julie?
It's one that will stay with you. It will not leave you.
It doesn't. I feel like it gets in your bones and it will stay with you. I mean, it's not, I will be honest, it's not the easiest read, just because it's such a hard topic. I mean, but I think the beautiful thing that Jesmond does is it's such a visceral experience that these things that I like intellectually, you know that these things happened, but she just writes with them with such power that you get just feel just the tiniest bit. It really makes an impact. And her writing, I just can't say enough about it. So
Right.
very excited that it's out in the world.
Yeah,
And
no,
Oprah
and
agrees.
Oprah agrees, which is not a bad tea time, and Oprah agrees. I mean, those are two,
Exactly.
come on. But yeah, no, you're right, Shannon. And it's a tough read, but I love that she goes there. Sort of, it's just like she goes there. This is it. This is no
Yeah.
sugarcoating it. There's no, this is how brutal it was. It, was history. So it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. I feel like it's something that everyone should read.
Yep, for sure. Okay, Julia.
All right. Yeah, I agree. You can't go wrong with Jesmond Ward.
Yeah.
She's great. Okay, as you may have expected, we have Michael Connelly's Resurrection Walk.
Woo, woo,
It comes out tomorrow. He's going to be at Warwick's on Wednesday. This is a new book in his Lincoln Lawyer series featuring Harry Bosch. So, you guys know what you're getting with Michael Connelly. Great Southern California noir. He is a master at this, and this is yet another great book in his series, the Harry Bosch series. I just, can't say enough great things about Michael Connelly. He's a great guy as well as a great author. These are the kind of books that I always bought my dad for the holidays. He was always excited to get a new Michael Connelly. So if you've got someone in your life that, loves this kind of stuff, we've got a new one from Michael, and just as good as the rest.
Yeah, he's just that. There's, what do you say? It's Michael Connelly.
There's not.
It's Michael Connelly. So like we were talking about John Grisham. It's John Grisham. Yeah. It's Michael Connelly.
Exactly. You know what it's going to be, but it's going to be a great read and a great time. So
for sure. And he is. We've hosted him once before. We're so excited. He's going to be down at the Coronado Library with us in a nice big theater and with lots of people coming. So it's going to be a really fun night. And Matt Coyle, who's our local thriller writer, is going to be, or crime novelist, is going to be doing the conversation with him. So it's going to be a really fun night. So
that's great. I used to sell Matt at IPG.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Matt's a good guy.
That's great too. And I think a great in conversation, sort of person in conversation with Michael. I think that'll be a great talk.
I think so too. I think that they'll really play off each other well. And I think that it's, it helps Matt being with somebody like Matt, with Michael. I mean, it's all good. In fact, Matt turned me on to an interviewer that we just did an event with, Peter James. And I know he's not. Okay, he's my new friend. I love him to death. He's written a ton of books. This is like his 19th book.
Yeah. I think I sold him at IPG too.
You may have, but some standalone stuff, maybe.
Yeah, and he did that. Is he the one? Like, there's a series on BritBox.
Yes,
based on his.
Yes, yeah. It's all that's exactly what it is. And so it's all, and all of his books start with dead. Like it's got the word dead in it, except for he's got some standalone stuff. Oh my God, I love him. If you want to watch the interview, it was a really good interview. But there's this gal up in Mission Viejo called Maddie Margarita, who does it. It's Maddie. Do not put Maddy. Just don't.
Bad things will happen.
Bad things will happen. But she does this Wednesday thing at 10 a.m. with all the mystery. So yeah, that was a really good interview too. So Matt turned me on to Matt Coyle turned me on to Maddie. So fun stuff happening. So lots of us are still doing this stuff out here. All right, Tom Benton. Tom, what do you talk about today? Did we lose you?
Can you hear that? Do you know who that is?
No, we can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear it?
Nope.
It's The Way We Were. It's singing The Way We Were. It's the beginning of The Way We Were. All right, well, that didn't play very well. But
should we all go into where's our microphones?
Exactly.
Joey,
So
what's
Barbara
your-
Streisand, Barbara Streisand, Barbara Streisand. Now the good news for Shannon and Julia is, like, every time I would present this book, I'm like, I know nothing about this book because we've kept it so secret. Well, I'm still holding up, I'm not holding up the finished book, but I have held the finished book in my hands. I've seen it. I've been pictured with it. So it exists and it's out tomorrow. And she did an interview that was aired yesterday on CBS Sunday Morning, which was fantastic. So it's all about to, they're about to release Barbara's interviews starting tomorrow. She'll be on Colbert tomorrow. So, but it all goes back to Vanity Fair. What do we know about this book? We still know mostly from Vanity Fair. 992 pages of startling honesty and self-reflection, deadpan parenthetical asides, encyclopedic recall of onstage outfits, and rigorous analyses of her films, many of which she's rewatched for the first time in decades. There's the chilling story, which she's never told before, of the origins of her legendary stage fright. There's her hilarious opening line to James Brolin, who she's been with for 27 years. There's no index, so would-be browsers can't cheat. A genius move. Was it her choice? She laughs. Absolutely. If she could plug away for 10 years writing this exhaustive, exhilarating account of her life, leaving blood on the page as per her editor's request, then we can do her the courtesy of reading it from start to finish. So out tomorrow, Barbara Streisand's My Name is Barbara. I highly recommend what's great about her is that she's so, like, I think of her as being so kind of almost reclusive. Like but then you see her interviewed with Gayle King interviewing her yesterday on CBS Sunday Morning, and then this morning on CBS This Morning. She's very open. She's a great interview. She's as she thinks of herself as not a celebrity at all. She thinks of herself as just the same girl she was growing up in New York. So anyway, everyone knows how excited I am. It's been over 10 years in the making. We bought this 10 years ago, but in the Vanity Fair piece, the thinking for this, Jackie Onassis first asked her in the 90s if she would do her memoir. So this book is a long time coming, and no bigger. I was trying to think, like, what could we compare it to? All right, icon for icon. This is a weird comparison, but I go to the Keith Richards book. Like, he's an icon, but he couldn't be more different than Barbara. But he wrote a great book.
Right.
Right. And
I was gonna say Springsteen.
I think Springsteen might be, yeah.
Oh, why didn't I go there? Music Time. I'm the biggest Springsteen.
You go to cross continents to see.
I bought tickets last night for Bruce in Ireland. So okay. Yes, maybe I was afraid to go there, but thank you, Julia. It's Bruce Springsteen. So now, okay, so up until now, very little to say, very little to know what's in the book, because we kept it as tight a seal on this book as any book I've ever seen. It's like, and I don't think there's necessarily particularly juicy stuff, but it's Barbara Streisand. If she doesn't want it out, it does not get out. But starting tomorrow when it's on sale, then there's going to be Colbert, and then Howard Stern's interviewing her, which will be fantastic. She's doing a New York Times by the book feature, so we'll know what's on her nightstand. It's all about to roll out. So it's here. Almost 1,000 pages. And so I'm going to present it again another time when I actually have it.
Yes.
And in the meantime, there's Barbara Streisand. My Name is Barbara.
I love it. Now, Tom, okay, so did you know 10 years ago that you guys bought this? Did you know it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, we knew we bought it, but I never thought, you never can be sure if they're actually gonna get it done.
If it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Arlene's on here saying that she read that it weighs 3.1 pounds. So you can get your little workout.
I believe it. Yeah, buy two, and then you can really work it out.
Okay, I'm curious though. So it did not slip out anywhere like Walmart and Target and none of those stores put it out?
I don't think so.
And I might go to my Target tonight just to see.
Oh yeah, why don't you go check it out? let Barbara know if it's there early, because
Well, because there's this whole, I don't know if you guys watch any of the, there's just this whole insider group that we have on Facebook for indie booksellers. And there is just this world. It's not one of your books, it's a Macmillan book. That Fourth Wing, Iron
God,
Flyer, Iron something, I don't know, Fourth, I don't know what it is, but the new one. Oh my God, people are losing their minds because, well, indie booksellers are losing their minds because every big box store out there had it out early.
oh no, is it out tomorrow?
It's out tomorrow. So
Oh.
all the indie bookstores are trying to like hold the line. So all the big box stores have it out early. So the indie booksellers are losing their minds, but the fans are just loving it because they're all getting their hands on it early. And so they're just posted all over the place.
Well, I have not seen any of that with Barbara.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So it's going to be interesting. I'm curious, like, because I wanted to see, I wonder if we actually have our copies.
You do.
Do we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone has their copies and everyone's being so good.
I know. I'm shocked. I'm
Because
shocked.
indie booksellers are the best.
Indie
Yes,
booksellers are
right.
good, but I'm more shocked about the big box. I'm really curious to see if
Well,
it's
I
out
mean,
there anywhere.
If you see it, let me know. I can't be sure,
I
but
might have to go to Target later today just to be a jerk and see.
but it's unbelievable how the media, there has been no leaks in the media. We have kept it as tight. And I kept that last week before I was presenting it again. I know the editor really well. I kept emailing him like, couldn't you give me something? Give me a little. No, sorry, can't give you anything, nothing.
But I mean, that though is, she deserves that respect.
Yeah.
And I love that people are giving her that respect, you
Yeah.
know, because
Yeah.
it's just like, I think that's it. There's something to say about the people who are upholding that integrity too.
Exactly.
That's
That's what she represents. And
Yep.
but yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on it and actually start digging in.
Yeah. I think somebody said on here, at 10 pounds, it might take me 10 years to read. Love it. All right, Kim, you came in flying in, but you got here in time to be the next pick. So what do you got for us?
Okay, I'm so not prepared. Okay, my first book has already been done. Where is it here? I'm trying to make it come up and it's refusing to come up. Okay, it's Land of Milk and Honey by Pam Zhang, who wrote Much of These Hills is Gold. And I didn't read that book, and this book is really unique in a really good way. And Madeline and I both really like this. And it centers on an unnamed 29-year-old female chef who's living in a world covered by a toxic smog that was due to some kind of environmental catastrophe. And the smog has caused almost all crops and a lot of animals to die. And now everyone mainly eats a super nutritious flour that scientists had to race to develop after the catastrophe that people can live on. And of course, it tastes awful. And it's kind of hard to be a chef when there's nothing to eat except this flour. So she applies to and is accepted to be a chef on a mountaintop in Italy, cooking for extremely wealthy people who have the privilege of coming to this mountaintop and eating this incredible food. And it gets pretty wild up there. And the book, in the book, it explores so much. Her own, the main character's own sort of desires, and obviously, the inequality, there's racism, there's it's hard. It's really, really hard to describe. And there are parts of it that almost, to me, were almost horror-like. There's some weird sort of violence, but I'm making it sound terrible. But it's really fun, and the the food part makes you really hungry most of the time, but sometimes it doesn't. And it explores love, and it has, believe it or not, a happy ending. So if you want something really edgy and different, but in a really good way, that's incredibly entertaining, like it's incredibly suspenseful, this would be a great pick.
All right, yeah, Tom, I think you talked about it last week, didn't you, Tom?
Yeah, because Kim, you get at, I mean, it is a difficult book to talk about because there is so much pleasure in it at the same time. And I hadn't thought about
So much pleasure. And
Yeah.
and I love the contrast between the pleasure and
Yeah.
the parts that are the opposite of pleasure. It's
Mhm.
mostly pleasure. I mean, I love cooking and stuff, and I was just enthralled by the descriptions, but they're over the top, and they're too much.
It's too
No,
much.
I mean, that's the point of it,
Right.
is the unfairness of this incredible abundance and this ridiculously complicated food, well, compared to
rest of the world.
the rest of
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
And they're lavish surrounding, I mean, the whole shebang. But there's a relation, she develops a relationship with one of the sort of people running this paradise, and it's complicated,
Yeah.
but really interesting.
Yeah.
And again, it has this really positive side and a really negative side, so it's sort of this yin and yang book.
Sounds really good, though.
It's a really smart, challenging,
It
fascinating.
is.
Yeah.
It's really worth reading. I mean,
Awesome.
it's just fascinating, and it really makes you think.
Want to go back to Barbara, because somebody put on here,
Please.
Tom, I thought we were doing Barbara karaoke today.
I know
We
what happened.
kind of messed up.
I know. Well, I was trying to get at that when I was trying to play The Way You Were, but
That's how good
Right,
these
right.
microphones are on not picking up ambient noise.
I guess, is that what it is? Because
Yeah.
you can hear me, but you couldn't hear
Yeah,
from
it is really good on that. Okay, Shannon, what do you got next?
Okay, I'm going to talk about Naomi Alderman, The Future, which is, let's see if I can do it. Did it work? Let's see. Hold on. Bear with me.
I think there it is.
All right. So this is Naomi Alderman. This comes out next Tuesday on this, or no, not this Tuesday.
Tomorrow, yeah,
On
tomorrow.
Barbara's Day. We're just going to call it Barbara's Day.
Mm-hmm.
You guys might know Naomi Alderman from The Power, which it's been a little while. I think it came out in 2017, but that was a big book. When I've been selling in this one, I was shocked at people's sales. Across the board, everyone just sold it. But this is also a November Indie Next pick. I want to say slightly sci-fi, cli-fi, I've heard it described as, but this is set in the not too distant future. And it's kind of a sprawling book and a lot going on, but it really takes the ultra wealthy, the wealthiest less than 1% people. They have this AI technology that will predict the end, like, when things are going to go down. And they have all planned together that they're going to go off to their bunkers and leave everybody else to their own devices, which basically means death. And then it's the most unlikely group of people that are banding together to kind of thwart them. So it is action-packed. It is scarily possible in all of these different ways with all of these different technologies. It's like a scathing look at wealth inequality. And it's kind of sexy too. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. So it's coming, and indie booksellers agree, and it's also getting great reviews. And I just heard Naomi talk about it for a few minutes and she was saying she started it 6 years ago, and things that were not in the realm of happening are like already happening. So super freaky.
That's the part that's so scary about that stuff, is that it's like they think that they're being like, oh, this is in the
Yeah.
future, it's not happening right now, and then it's like,
Oh,
And
yeah.
you try and be as like wild as she probably thought she could be, and then it's just like it's always to that thing that I keep going back to this Peter James thing, but it was so good. He was telling some stories about how he got his ideas, and some of them were just crazy, and it's like truth is stranger than fiction.
It totally
And
is. And I just feel like with this AI, this new AI thing that just, we all were like, ah, and now it's here and it like so far ahead of how our brains can even process the possibilities. It is
right, scary.
terrifying.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a really good book. Sounds really good. Okay, Julia, what do you got next?
All right. Naomi Alderman also wrote Disobedience, which is my favorite book about Jewish lesbians ever.
Ever?
Yes, it's about Orthodox Jewish lesbians.
Oh, is this finally
so-
out?
So I've got In the Pines. Yep, In the Pines is out
Yay!
tomorrow. Julie read it. This is it's not an easy book. But a really interesting book about sort of narratives of white supremacy and how they are created and how they are sort of passed down through the generations. And basically this author, Grace Elizabeth Hale, her expertise is white supremacy and how it functions. And her grandfather was a small town Mississippi sheriff in the 1940s. And she was told this story about her grandfather basically attempting to save a Black man from being lynched. And in the story she was told, her grandfather was a hero, and she was doing research on something else and came across a newspaper article that contradicted that narrative a bit that she had been told. And it kind of nagged at her for a long time. And finally, she went back and started researching it and realized that actually the story she had been told was an out and out lie, that her grandfather actually probably did commit this murder of this Black man. She goes into the archives, she tries to find as much as she can about the man who her grandfather killed, and also sort of in the meantime is talking about how, we as white people sort of start to engage with some of the more violent aspects of our ancestry and sort of our grandparents. This is a beloved grandfather, and she has to sort of recalibrate how she thinks about him. So it's a beautifully written book. It's so well written. It's a hard topic, but I think a really important one. And I sat down and read it in basically one sitting. It really moves. And it is a fascinating story. John Grisham did the foreword because he was so sort of captivated by this story, and it was it reads a little bit like a Grisham novel in certain ways. And so he did the foreword for it. It's just a stunningly good piece of literature and piece of journalism, really. So yeah, In the Pines.
Because like you said, reckoning with your own family and what the family lore tells. I mean, it's so good. I guess Beth Doherty on here was at a Hachette book club brunch a few weeks ago, and this was one of the books and the authors that were featured. And she says,
"Oh, good,
yeah,
Michelle, great, thank you."
So Beth, so that was but definitely, it's so good. It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, the writing is really stunning.
Writing's good, and it's just one of those where you're like, it's interesting that, and it's today too. It's just like the narrative that people want for bad behavior.
The stories we tell ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And what the reality is. And it's just, it's really good. All right, Tom, what do you got?
I was going to say also, I think in the LA Times, I think they did an interview with her maybe yesterday, and they asked her how her family has reacted. Not well. Like it's like, they don't want this. They don't want to know. They still don't want to know. Which is kind of crazy.
Kind of like, well, what was that Educated when she wrote? I mean, her whole family just went bananas.
Yeah.
I mean, bananas on her. So,
I mean, that book is wild. So
that you get.
There's some things that maybe should stay in the closet. That is, That one,
right.
That was one of those. Okay, I'm going to derail for a minute.
Sure.
That was one of those books that when I was like kind of pitched it or whatever, it was like, oh, it's this, Mormon story and the whole bit, and like this look at like what more, and it was so not that. It was so not that. And I was kind of pissed that it wasn't. And so it's just like, but then it was like, oh my God.
Right. You got over being pissed quickly.
I got over being pissed about it not being this, because I was going to be a takedown of the whole, like how just like crazy, or just how, and I'm not takedown, but it's just like just a whole insight into that. And oh yeah.
I lent my copy of that book to a friend, and he was like, your note, I write in books. And he was like, all of your notes are just, holy shit, this guy survived.
Right.
Which is like really all you're doing the whole book.
Right.
How are these people still alive?
How are they still alive? And that mother, that mother. So we can talk about them all. All right. I digress.
I'm still getting over Julia writing in books though. I don't do that.
I'm sacrilegious, Tom. They're just books.
They're just
I'm fascinated. I'd love to see what your books look like, but
mine look like they've never
afraid.
Mine look like they've never been read.
Mine too.
Mine look like they have never, and I used to
Same.
lend them to my niece, and she took a galley of mine of a Ken Follett to the pool and looked like she submerged it in the jacuzzi. And I was like, never again.
My kids have done that. I'm like, if my kids do it, it's okay. But otherwise, no.
Yeah. All right.
So also on coming out tomorrow on Barbara's Day is Sigrid Nunez, The Vulnerables. So I love Sigrid Nunez. She was real. I mean, she's been at it a long time, but she really was, quote unquote, discovered when she wrote The Friend and won the National Book Award and that was the first time she was able to be a writer, like live on her writing. Like she had to do taught and do other things. So that came late in life. And so we published The Friend, and then What Are You Going Through was the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is the Vulnerables. I don't think she they seem to be a trilogy now, but I'm not sure she intended that exactly. And they're hard to describe because they're not filled with plot. There's a lot of observation. They're filled with beautiful literary references. The main character is a writer, always unnamed. One way or another, an animal comes into the writer's life. So in the Friend, it was a dog. In What Are You Going Through, it was a cat. And now in The Vulnerables, it's a parrot. So this is set also, it's going to sound weird, but it's set during the first spring and summer of the pandemic. So 2020. And so the character is walking around New York City, missing people, not isolated as we all were, but she's alone. And you think, well, do I really want to go back to that time? But there's something about the way she writes and thinks that it's not painful at all. It's pleasurable. It's you feel a sense like, and she's always going off on tangents, and it almost feels like they're not traditional novels either, because there's these tangents, but they're all carefully constructed at the same time.
Yes.
I don't know how, it's like, it's a sleight of hand that I don't know how she does it. And she does it in, this many pages. So both of my next two books are the anti-Barbaras, because they're like that. They're short, quick reads but they stay with you. All of her books stay with me. So you can read this, it stands on its own. You can read any of them and they stand on their own, because they're only connected in themes and that character, but it's not necessarily the same character. And
I was just going to say, now I feel like I need to read them all again, because I've read all three of them and would never have put them into a trilogy. So I'm like, what did I miss?
I know. Well, they're only because of the way they're similar books. They're all similar books about a similar character. And then there was a big New York Times magazine piece about her yesterday that was great. And her close friends have read her books and thought, there are aspects of it that they know aren't true, but then there are aspects of it that they assume were true. They're like, one of her close friends comes to her house and is like, "Where's the dog?" And she's like, "What dog?" So they're like, "Oh, the dog that's in the front." She's like, "That was fiction. I completely made that up." So that's how like real life they feel. Anyway, they're amazing. The new book is out on Barbara's Day.
On Barbara's Day. But I do have to say about this, because I read this one too. I said I'm feeling
Oh.
very good. I've read a lot of your books.
Oh, I didn't realize you'd read this one.
Oh my
Okay.
God, yeah. No, and I love okay. And I was just sort of like, okay, do I want to read a COVID book? Because I'm
Yeah.
kind of, that is that. Oh, and by the way, Amanda put the New York Times piece in the
Oh,
chat,
excellent.
so y'all can get that. But it really doesn't feel, you don't get the PTSD that I thought it's like, oh, I don't want to relive this
Yeah.
stuff. Because there's some humor.
Yes.
That's some really good humor that she does.
Yeah,
just
she's a very funny writer too.
And very subtle though, that it's just like you don't, and then all of a sudden you're in this scene and you're going, okay, this is a really absurd scene that's happening right now.
Right. And also she's dealing with they're all filled with darkness
Oh, yeah.
also, and mortality, especially this one included. And yet
But it
There's
doesn't
some-
feel like that.
it doesn't feel like that because of the humor, the
Yeah.
sensibility of the writer.
Yeah, almost Harold and Modish to a certain
Yeah, that's good.
to
Yeah.
a certain extent, a little
Yes.
bit. You know?
Oh, this one, yes, there's Harold and Maude.
There's
for
a
sure.
Harold and Modish to this one that is really yeah, it's good.
Really
really good.
fun. Yeah.
All right, Kim.
Okay. My next book is, oh, by the way, I'm glad you guys just talked about that, because I love her, but I really wasn't in the mood for a pandemic novel, but you have inspired me to give it a shot, because
It's okay. Yeah.
she is good enough to me that she, if anyone can get me into it, it's her.
Yep.
I just love her. I just think she's just so funny, really.
Yeah.
Okay, my next book is, it actually doesn't come out until January. And it's Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson, who wrote Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. And like that book, the author is also the main character. And if you like metafiction, like Anthony Horowitz, and if you like Agatha Christie-esque locked room mysteries with a lot of humor, very clever humor, you'll love this book. In this one, Ernest and his girlfriend attend the Australian Mystery Writers Festival's 50th anniversary celebration. Then it takes place on a very famous train in Australia that actually goes through the Australian desert. And there are 7 writers, and each of them represents sort of a subgenre. Ernest is the debut writer. And then there's a forensic science thriller writer, a legal thriller writer, someone who writes literary thrillers, and someone who writes psychological thrillers. And after one of them dies, or one of them's murdered, the rest of them quickly become 5 detectives. And they all should know how to solve a murder, but they also all should know how to commit a murder. And it's zany and fun. And, the author's a comedian, and he's very, very clever. And the book, you won't guess the ending. You won't guess who did it.
I love it. So is it Benjamin Stevenson? Is that the author?
Yeah, Benjamin Stevenson.
Okay, because Beth Doherty says she's looking forward to it, and got a couple other comments that a lot of people didn't know that he had a new book coming. So
yeah,
that's
it's
good news
It's
for people.
super fun.
Yeah.
I liked it more than his first one.
And there's another Kim on here, Kim, but Shannon, Kim says she's almost finished with Rouge by Mona Ahmed.
Oh,
She has what a, in all caps, wild book, and it is
Yeah.
it is absolutely,
It is wild.
it is a wild ride that you're on. There is no question. Because,
But I hope you love it, because no one writes like Mona.
Everyone fan because it was great. Glad he turned. Oh yeah, that he turned it into a series. So lots of Benjamin Stevenson fans that are on here today. So they're all very excited that he's
gonna
got a
love
new
this.
book coming.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, lightning round, because we have gone a little bit time today, but not too bad. Oh, where'd Kim go? Kim, what are you doing? Kim's left.
Sorry, no, I'm
left the building.
still here.
Kim left the building.
No, I'm still here.
All
All
right.
right. How do you start the video?
Okay.
Again?
We
There
won't
we
worry
go.
about it.
That's right. Okay, lightning round. Shannon, let's go.
Okay, let's see. If tomorrow is Barbara's day. October 24th was Brittany's day.
Yes.
And I know I wasn't here to share it with you guys, but you all heard. It's very, very exciting. I know Julia is just as excited as I was that it came out, but I know it's lightning round. So I'm just going to shout out Brittany. She did it. Great reviews all around. New York Times, LA Times. I'm reading nothing but glowing things about it. So very, very exciting that she's out in the world. And I think Warwick's has one of the famous standees. You can go get your picture with it. But yeah, I can't wait to dig in. Like much like Tom's book, we saw nothing in advance. But now that she's out in the world, so very exciting.
And I'm hearing really good things about this one. I mean, it's like really authentic and just, you know, just lays it out there for everybody and doesn't
Great
hold
reviews.
anything back.
I mean,
really
the
good reviews.
conservatorship stuff is just so wild and maddening and like shocking that was anyways. But yeah, besides that, and then all the tea that she spills. So yeah,
but then I mean the paparazzi. I mean, how her just like, I know, at what price fame, and what that did to destroy. You know, it's But I'm hearing great things about it.
It's kind of like the power. This is a great publishing story too, because they got she gave, however it happened, it's a great book, and it took a book to really get her story out there. Right?
Without the spin, from everybody.
Not a magazine.
Really, it's like giving her power back, which, for sadly, she didn't have for so long, despite all of the amazing things she's done.
I know, and she has. I mean, I took my daughter. I love this story. She was, I think, in second grade, maybe, and we took her. I don't know if you guys remember Irvine Meadows, the California people, where it was an outdoor venue, and so it was just me and her because all of like it was the thing to do was like go see Britney Spears. So just me and her drove up to Irvine Meadows or Carlsbad here, and there was a point when remember when you used to hold like the lighters, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, I've got this picture of holding she's standing on the chair with one of those light glow sticks, standing up doing the Britney Spears with
I love it. I love it.
I just love it. It's just like she was just that iconic thing for that generation of kids. And
for sure.
I mean, in my head, Julie, that was too. I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. I hope that's the song that was playing while you had the lighters going.
I sure it was, but I was not into it. I was there for my second grade daughter that was just in heaven. Yes. I mean, just pure joy. Just so she just was like, it's so much fun. Okay, so Amanda, though, is on here. She's talking to someone whose book club is doing the Britney book. And they're all going to dress up as a different era when they
Can I come?
We need photos.
We need so many photos.
Yeah, we need photos.
Yeah.
And Dee was on here. Her friend read it, thought it was realistic, honest, and fun, made her appreciate her talent. Exactly. I think that's you got to give it up to her. Got to do a hat tip.
I'm just gonna say for people who don't know that Shonda Rhimes wrote the Britney Spears movie Crossroads, a movie that I have memorized.
I did not know that.
Yes, Shonda Rhimes, also starring Zoe Saldana, Kim Cattrall from Sex and the City, Dan Aykroyd, star-studded. Absolutely go watch it if you want.
What's it called?
It's called Crossroads.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I love Britney Spears. I read that cover to cover like day 1 and 2 it was out
on Britney Day.
Yeah, Shannon knows. Tom, it's going to take me longer to get through Barbara, but I do love Barbara as well. So
thank you.
You're not alone.
All right, Julia, what do you got for us?
Well, I was going to ask first, Julia, did you see Britney at that in concert? Did you see?
I did not. I have a funny Britney story, which was that I was very punk rock when Britney came out, and I secretly loved Britney for a long time. I did not share how much I loved Britney with people around me because I was 15 when Britney debuted. And I was like, my friends were too punk rock for Britney.
Yeah.
And so I didn't ever go see her. I did see Crossroads on opening day when it came to the theaters, with my college friends. So,
But I have a
Um,
feeling that your punk rock friends are probably Britney fans now.
Yes.
yeah,
Or became them.
absolutely. As well they should be.
Right.
There was actually a great punk cover. I forget who the band was, but someone did a great punk cover of Hit Me Baby One More Time. That's still slaps. to
Oh, we
this
should look
day.
that up.
I think
Yeah,
that's right.
it's great.
All right, Julie, what
Um,
do you got for us?
Okay, I have music too, but like now for something completely different. I have this Philip Glass. This is like total
Mm.
gifty book. This Philip Glass piano etudes. So this is the complete piano etudes from 1 through 20. So anyone in your life that's like a huge music fan, this is gonna be great for. You can see it comes in this sort of like, it's not even a slipcase. I don't know what to call it. Like you pull it out of this box. And then you can see there's all the etudes. And then what's really cool is there's all these essays by a bunch of different people who love Philip Glass. So you can see he's in conversation with Ira Glass, Myra Coleman, Martin Scorsese has an essay about Philip Glass and his music. It's just this really great gifty book. I think, you know, it's $150, so it's definitely like a big gift for someone, but for people who are really into classical music and who love Philip Glass, this is like absolutely the thing to buy. Yeah, I wanted to highlight it because I think it's kind of, you know, it's very niche, but I think really fascinating. And I know
Mhm.
so many people who are huge fans of Philip Glass and his music, and so many musicians who, you know, would love to get their hands on some of this music. And so I think it's a good holiday gift to think about.
Yep.
For
Matthew Hines on here saying, ooh.
Ooh.
It's beautiful. I mean, it looks almost like a Taschen,
Right.
Yeah,
right?
I
You know,
know.
like one of those great art, you know,
Yep.
pieces of art that you'll have forever and ever. It's
Totally. This
beautiful.
is Artisan Press, which is part of Workman, and they do gorgeous,
good job.
gorgeous books.
Yep.
They
do
do a
great
lot of
cookbooks.
cookbooks, but they do kind of a lot of other great books as well. Great,
Yep.
beautiful books.
Is it kind of a limited edition? It looks like it would be.
There's actually an even more limited edition
Oh.
that's got a signature and some other special things. This one I don't think is limited, but it's not a huge print run just because it's, you know,
Sure.
it is very niche. I know that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beth Doherty's on here saying it reminds her or makes her think of a tiny bit of Building Stories.
mhm,
Yeah.
The way the structure, the way it's put together.
totally.
Okay, Tom.
All right. So my last book is another one of my an icon to me, Jeff Tweedy's World Within a Song, and it kind of gets at what Julia you were talking about. This book is about songs and performers, but really in this book it's songs that have been important and influential in Jeff Tweedy's life. So Jeff Tweedy is you know, leader of Wilco, one of the greatest songwriters of his generation, and now with his third book, he's not a novelist. He's a book. He's a producer of books also. Like this was the third. It won't be the last. Even though he's a hilarious writer, but the most self-effacing. Like he can't believe that he's writing this book, and he doesn't feel like he's really qualified to write this book. And yet there's so much wisdom in this book. And so it's songs that he have somehow been important to him. But sometimes there's songs that as a kid he hate. Like there's one of they're short chapters, but one of them is about Dancing Queen and ABBA. Similar thing. He was punk. He was more punk rock and couldn't allow himself to appreciate the greatness of ABBA. So he sets that right in the book. But we bring so much to the music we listen to, you know, of the world. So it's really a fascinating book at what has turned him into the artist that he is today. It's very personal, it's philosophical, and you can apply the things that he's talking about to any kind of art. But in his case, it's all about the music. So it's in a way, it's also he's written a memoir. That was the first book, but this is a memoir through the songs that he's loved or hated. It's fantastic, and you know, easy gift, easy stocking stuffer. Highly recommended if you love music. he's just really great. Obviously, he's a great musician, great songwriter, but also a good writer about music. And that's not the same thing. That's not easy to do.
Right.
So Jeff Tweedy's World Within a Song.
Okay. So you're not going to tell my Jeff Tweedy story that I had with you I was like, we're talking about going and seeing Jeff Tweedy. And I'm thinking, is there a buyer named Jeff Tweedy? That it's like, how do I not know this Jeff Tweedy guy? What store is he?
Jeff doesn't approve of that story. No.
I was just like, oh my God, should I know this person? What store does he work for? I think you may have seen Wilco Moore, or it's about the same as Bruce.
Bruce Moore.
Bruce Moore.
But pretty close.
Pretty close.
I don't miss an opportunity, I'll put it that way.
Okay, I love it. All right, Kim, take us home.
Okay, my next book is a large book. It's a photography book, and it's unique. I've never seen anything like this.
Give us the title so Amanda can put
Oh,
it
I'm
on
so
the-
sorry. It's
Yeah.
called I'm so sorry. It's called The Colors of Life, Early Color Photography Enhanced by Stuart Humphreys. And it's basically black and white, or like sepia, those faded old from the early 1900s photos from all over the world that Stuart Humphreys, the author, colorized extremely painstakingly. And the result is sort of astonishing. There's a saying that the past is a foreign country. And in this very unique book, it doesn't feel like a foreign country anymore. The past doesn't feel like the past. These photos look like they were from yesterday. Like people got dressed up to be in a movie. And it's really weird. They've been brought back to life, and it says they describe it as allows the reader to see the past in a brand new way. And it's I'm trying to find, I wrote the quote here somewhere. It feels like, okay, it feels as if someone traveled back in time. There's a time traveler who had an iPhone and then brought back these photos, on their iPhone to show us, because they look, I don't know, they look alive. Here's an example of a young woman. I mean, she looks like today, and they have famous photos, as well as, not famous photos. And they even have one of Shackleton, and and some of these photos you've seen before, and it's astonishing how much more real they feel. And I don't know, it gives you a whole different way of looking at the past. It's just fascinating.
It looks like a really good gift book.
It's
Well, you don't want to know, if you don't know what to buy somebody, it looks like a really interesting.
Right. And
Yeah.
a great book for the person you don't know what to buy for, and the great book for the person who has everything, because they don't have this.
Right.
I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
So well done. I mean, they look hyper real.
I love it. Okay, everybody.
I think we miss Gabe. Gabe
We
should
miss
be
Gabe.
here.
Yes,
But I think we need to put off the Barbara karaoke, because Gabe would want to be a part of that.
you're right.
So it's actually appropriate that we didn't choose today.
And
For
he needs to
Barbara.
lead it, I think.
Yes.
I think
yes.
he was bragging a little bit last week about it.
Yeah.
So I think that he might need to lead this for us.
I
Well, we're
think
all going to celebrate Barbara Day tomorrow. Oh, my damn phone. Sorry.
so.
How many years have I been doing this? So another great Barbara Day tomorrow, but such good books. Jessamine, In the Pines. I mean, the Sigrid New, there's so many good books. I'm shocked at how many I've actually read this time. Usually
I
I'm
really
less.
want to read The Future.
I know that one
Oh,
sounds really
You'll
good,
love
too.
it, Kim.
Yeah,
I
that
know
sounds
I
like right
will.
up your alley on that
I know
one.
I will. Yeah.
All right, Michael Conley's coming. Who else we've got? Yeah, we've got some good stuff coming up, and stay tuned for next year for some events, man. Let me tell you what, the plates are spinning. We got all kinds of stuff in the air.
That's awesome.
It's gonna be fun. All right,
Yeah, you
everybody.
do.
All right,
Happy
to
reading.
take us out, I'm gonna try again. So just we
Okay,
can go.
let's see.
but-
Let's see.
Lights, candy, and the sun's above the butter. Don't bring around a cloud.
It's working, right?
That
Okay.
worked.
Now we can go.
Now we can go. Don't rain
All
on my
right.
parade.